The intersection of West Broadway and Hudson Street in 1880. Valentines Manual of Old New York Q. Why does Manhattan have a West Broadway and an East Broadway, neither of which intersects the real Broadway? A. Broadway, it turns out, is a very popular name for streets in New York City. In fact, you'll find a Broadway in every borough. Manhattan alone has 5 additional streets with Broadway in their names, but West Broadway and East Broadway are by far the most notable. Both roads received their current names in the mid-19th century, well after Broadway was established, but no one knows why for certain. It may have been an attempt by property owners to cash in on the prestige of the Broadway name, or by the city to relieve traffic congestion on the original Broadway. West Broadway forms the backbone of Soho and Tribeca. It runs roughly parallel to Broadway, stretching north from the World Trade Center to Houston Street, where it turns into LaGuardia Place for 3 blocks before expiring at Washington Square Park. The route has royal origins. Its first piece, Chapel Street, was laid over land once known as King's Farm, in the mid-1700s. Parts of the route had a number of different names, including College Place, Adams Street, Lawrence Street, and Concord Street. In 1870, at the behest of William Boss Tweed, the powerful head of Tammany Hall, the section of West Broadway north of Canal Street was renamed South Fifth Avenue. Tweed owned property nearby and thought the association with the real Fifth Avenue would boost its value, in part because the Strip had become a red light district known as Rotten Row. Critics detested both names. The street in question has nothing to do with Broadway, nor is it a continuation of Fifth Avenue. The Times wrote in an 1895 editorial, and its name should not attempt the impossible and useless task of linking it with either of them. East Broadway today. Tony Senecola. The New York Times. After a campaign by local merchants, West Broadway replaced South Fifth Avenue and College Place in 1896. LaGuardia Place, honoring the former mayor, was renamed in 1967. East Broadway is today a major thoroughfare through Chinatown. It follows the path of the former Love Lane, the main route to the plantation inherited by the Rutgers family in the 1750s. West Broadway and Prince Street today. Dave Sanders for the New York Times. It also used to be known as Smith Street and Disharmon Street. William S. Coe, a former alderman and lawyer for the Manhattan Company, pushed to change the name to East Broadway, which the city made official in 1831. The council's minutes offered no rationale for the change, but noted, the public are not materially interested or affected by such alteration. There are 3 other streets in Manhattan with Broadway in their name, none of which intersects Broadway itself. Only Old Broadway in Manhattanville has a historical claim. It marks a kink in the route of Broadway's ancient predecessor, the Bloomingdale Road. The others are Broadway Terrace in Upper Manhattan, southeast of Fort Tryon Park, and Broadway Alley in Kips Bay, one of the last unpaved streets on the island. Each is only a few hundred feet in length.